Thousands of people gathered to hear Barack Obama deliver key foreign policy speech on his current European tour. The Democratic presidential hopeful laid out his vision for America's place in a new world order, saying he was speaking as a proud citizen of the United States and a fellow citizen of the world.
Jim Kouri is with us, jimkouri.us, Kouri, good guy, and we've been talking for many, many years. Not in the best of health, Jim, but you never stop. You are relentless, and I know you've dedicated your life to freedom, and I really appreciate that. I know my audience appreciates it. You were Obama's greatest cheerleader, Oprah Winfrey, Oprah, rah, rah. What was that like, being on her show? You were on her show?
It was about. In fact, I was on with John Conyers, Representative John Conyers, and
isn't his wife being charged with some kind of embezzlement and money laundering right now?
Yeah, she's being investigated. I don't know if she was charged yet, but believe me, the corruption. I live in New Jersey now. They just arrested 44 of our top politicians here in New Jersey. There seems to be a race between New Jersey and Illinois to see which state is more corrupt.
I know. Who's winning?
I think Jersey right now.
That's a
tough. Obama's in Washington.
Tough, yeah, right. Once he left, they lost part of their corruption component.
Down.
Unbelievable. And the Americans are so concerned with just trying to survive now. It's so difficult for them to keep up on this. How is this whole thing going to turn out? As I said, Barkey's out having a beer with the police officer Crowley, Sergeant Crowley, and with Professor Gates, allegedly trying to solve this whole thing. I don't see how it's going to happen. I know he's backtracking, and he realized he really stepped in the doo-doo on this one, but what are your predictions? How's this going to turn out?
Well, we have to wait and see what this Professor Gates says afterwards. We also have to see what Barack Obama says afterwards. As I said before, I think this was just a shot over the bow of local law enforcement because he wants to control the law enforcement function in this country. He's actually said that. What was he talking about? A civilian security force equal to our U.S. military? In other words, he's trying to get around Posse Comitatus.
He sure is, and we just found out Dick Cheney was trying to send in the troops to go make a civil arrest in Buffalo with the Wanta something
Lackawanna,
6. Lackawanna 6, yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand this thinking. We have, all right, if you want to use the feds, you got the FBI. I don't understand why we have to resort to the military. The military are not police officers. They're not trained to be police officers. They're not trained to be law enforcement. The fact that we are starting to blur the line between law enforcement and military in more ways than one. Now they have to give Miranda rights overseas. They're not sworn peace officers. Why do they have to give Miranda?
Yeah. No, and my whole premise here, and that's the same thing locally with the blood draws and the DNA gathering and everything they're doing here in Austin, Texas, is you're putting these police in an impossible situation in order to fend off the citizenry, and it's very dangerous for them. I mean, when you get a position at this point, thanks to Cousin Barry, when you get a position where a policeman might be getting beaten by several thugs, who's going to jump in and save them? I mean, this is very dangerous. This whole line of thinking, which has been going on, Jim, for decades,
right.
It's got to come to an end.
You have to stop with the siege mentality and get the cops back in the community as part of the community. When I was a kid, we knew the name of the guy who was on patrol. We knew all the guys that were in the precinct. We played basketball with them. They were part of the community. Okay, so they took a piece of pie. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the scenario. I mean, Jim gets caught. He maybe had 2.2 drinks. He's slightly over the legal limit of drinking. And back in the day, the police officer escorts him home and makes sure he gets home okay. He doesn't write him a ticket and ruin his life.
They would drive you home to make sure you got home safe.
Make sure that gun is right in the gun rack and not, we don't want it to go off and accidentally hurt you.
Exactly. It's changed because our political leaders wanted it to change.
All by design. I guess some people would call that a conspiracy, Jim, but it's just all by design here, turning us against our local police. And I really think that this was a big part of this Barky Obama
I don't
comment.
think it was just an isolated incident. You're right.
And he hates white people, but other than that, Sotomayor also doesn't like the Caucasians very much. I mean, it's okay to love your race. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But again, let's just get over all of this. I thought when we had a black president, a black attorney general, all of the rest, that maybe some of this would go to bed, would go to rest. We'd take a rest on all of this race baiting. Instead, it's actually been expedited.
Well, it works. It helps them to get more and more power. You still have the race baiters out there, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Actually, Barack Obama, if you really get down to it, Barack Obama is a more polished version of Al Sharpton.
Yeah, much more polished.
Yeah.
He couldn't. Al Sharpton hasn't been able to get elected dog catcher so far. Well, that's really what it comes down to. What do you think of Eric Holder, the top cop here in America? What's your opinion on him?
I think he's another danger to Americans. I think he's more concerned with how many guns law-abiding American citizens have than he is with protecting Americans.
Or letting us protect ourselves, Jim. Let's just say how it is.
Exactly. They want us to rely on the government for everything, whether it's protection, health care. They want to take over. Why would we turn over health care to the biggest bunch of crooks and liars? It's just beyond me.
As if to totally pretend that we don't have the best health care available to us in the United States of America. Hey, Jim, if they gave us some sound money and let us play by the rules and level the playing field so that we can all have these rules we could play by, we'd have even greater health care than we have now. Jim Kouri joined us on the show today. Jim Kouri, KOURI.US. He is currently the 5th Vice President of the National Associations of Chiefs of Police. Jim, I'm going to talk to you offline about my friend Selly, who's being held as a political prisoner of the DEA agent, and see if maybe there's a letter or something we can't write to maybe help the guy out here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jim, for being on the show. The best of you. Give my best to Michael Moriarty and his family, and we miss him. I'd love to have him back on someday again.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jim. All right, folks. We'll be back tomorrow. If that wasn't caustic enough, tomorrow on the program, Jerry Corsi will join us. We'll see you then. Stay bold.